What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're talking about Severance episode 9. This is the last episode, so we're not going to be talking about Severance for quite some time, but I'm pretty sure yesterday or the day before, Severance Season 2 was confirmed, so hopefully it's not too long until that season comes along. So we're going to be talking about everything that happened in this finale, going over theories for next season, give you guys my rating for this episode and the series overall. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it. Please make sure to subscribe if you are new. But let's talk about Severance episode 9. Alright, so let's just get right into it. So right from the beginning, we get thrown right into everything. Everything happens so fast as we see all of their innies, come into the outside world. And I thought this was such a cool way to start, the whole episode. I mean, from last episode, we knew this is probably how it was going to start. But I loved how we saw all three perspectives and sort of how they do that camera flashing technique where we just get thrown into it. I love it. And in the very opening, it's pretty much confirmed right in the beginning that we see that Helly is an Egan. That was a long-running theory for a while. For most of the show, I just didn't believe it. I just didn't really... There was not many clues, It was only until the last episode, the episode before, is where we really had some real sort of clues as to maybe Helly is an Egan. And I loved how right away it's confirmed that she is an Egan. Great opening. It sort of got me very excited, very hype. I love the intro, the music. I don't really talk about the intro too much, but it really is impressive. It does get me excited for the show with the music and everything. So yeah, I think this was definitely the best opening of the series. But after this, we get to see Dylan. And so throughout this whole episode, Dylan has to control the levers or the switches so that the innies stay as innies. And I thought it was really interesting how it's not just a switch where it's like a light switch, he has to manually hold them down. So I thought that was interesting and adds a lot of sort of tension towards the back end as we see when Milchek tries to enter. But I thought it's interesting how it's not just a switch, he has to manually hold them, because when an innie goes into the outie world, it's supposed to be like this very quick thing. It's not supposed to be like this long-term sort of thing. So I love that sort of attention to detail for the show. After this, we get a look at Irving. And Irving, I was hoping to get a little bit more in this episode. He sort of is just trying to do the same thing throughout this whole episode. He's trying to find Bert. But I liked how in the beginning, as he's looking through his room, he sort of sees a bunch of medals. That tells us that he's a former military man, a veteran. That's probably where his reason for the severance comes from, probably from that PTSD from the wars or whatever happened to him, right? So that was interesting. I loved how he saw a picture of his dad, and he saw the look on his face, him realizing that he has a dad. He saw a picture of his dad. That's a big moment for him. He's never seen that. And but throughout this whole episode, he's just trying to go and find Bert, who's Christopher Walken's character. But after this, we go back to Helena, and she's getting introduced to the senator's wife and the senator, right? And as we remember in one episode, when Mark's sister met her, it was this whole big thing to where we thought that maybe she was severed, right? This is where it's confirmed that yes, she was severed. And but the one thing that was wrong about this is that I thought the senator was doing it maybe without the wife's permission, but it turns out the wife was completely on board. And I want to read exactly what she wrote, exactly what she said. And Helena says wow, you got 3 kids or whatever, right? And she says, I couldn't have done it without a little help. I mean, I can't believe people would want to outlaw severance. And so this was another confirmation of a theory right here that yes, she was severed, and that she was on board with it. She's on board with the severance, and the senator is obviously as well, as we saw in the newspapers from one episode, that he was already advocating for severance. But I just find this concept so unique and compelling. And again, this is where I noticed just for this episode too, the atmosphere of this episode was unlike any other. I thought it was palpitating. The tension felt very thick throughout the whole episode. Towards the back end, it feels a lot more intense. But I just loved having that feeling throughout the whole entire episode. There's not really a dull moment in this whole episode. Honestly, with the score and how, like I said, with the tension, how I feel like every single scene was important in some way. And that's just testament to this episode, the show, and everything. I just wanted to, say that out loud. We also had a cool scene between Mark and his brother-in-law. I love when Mark realizes that the author of the book is his brother-in-law. Because when he talks to him, he even says, you're like my idol, you changed my whole entire life. And, Mark just sort of forgot that maybe he shouldn't be spewing that stuff to his brother-in-law at this party when he's trying to maybe not to make a big deal of, his innie self right now, right? But I just thought it was funny how, the brother-in-law, that whole conversation between them was funny. But then the brother-in-law was about to show him a picture of that would have told him that Miss Casey is his wife, But then the brother gets pulled away. And we don't get that moment, but I love how it's teased here because it makes us want that. It puts in our head that we want to see any Mark find out that his wife is Miss Casey, and we won't find that out till the end. But I thought there was a very comical conversation between these two. So now back to Helena. As we see, she's like walking through an exhibit of her innie story. Like it says Helly, a Severance story, and it's sort of like an art exhibit showing her experience as an innie. So like a documentary thing as well, as we see Helena sort of having like interviews, and she even says that like, I wanted to take a Severance job because it sounds freaking awesome. And it made me think like, what's so awesome about the job? Like that's one thing we didn't find out in this episode still, I don't believe, is that we still don't know like what they're doing, And it made me think like when Helena says like I wanted it because the job sounds awesome, like what's so awesome about this Severance job? But now back to Mark. This is where the intensity starts to pick up in the episode, as he calls Harmony Mrs. Cabal because that's her name in the severed office place, right? Like that's her boss's name. So he says Mrs. Cabal because he doesn't think that she uses a fake name because, Mark doesn't, Irving doesn't, like nobody else does. But so like this is where it clicks in Harmony's mind that this isn't the Mark, like this is the innie's version of Mark. So she books out of, like she leaves right away pretty much, right? And after this we go back to Helena, and she's in the bathroom, she's taking a breather. This has got to be like very shocking to her being at the Egan Gala, So she's trying to take a breather, but then her father walks in. I believe it was her father, right? And he sort of says, like, "Are you okay?" Referencing the moment of when Helly's innie tried to kill herself. Remember all that? That was great. And she says, like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And he says, "One day you'll sit with me at the revolving," he says, or he says, "at my revolving," which I don't know what that means. I'm guessing like in season 2 we'll get something. It's probably some sort of ritual, like Egan weird thing, that passing down sort of thing, whatever. But then he also reveals his plan that he wants the whole world to be severed, and he kept saying like, it's because of you, because like when she was a little girl, she said like, everyone should have one of these, and I guess that gave him the inspiration, like, yeah, you're right, let's try and make this a bigger thing, from the prototype. He explained it all, and but I love how Helly, like her innie, she says whatever she has to the father so that he leaves and he doesn't think anything different. But then she goes into the mirror and she's like, "I'm sorry for everything I've done to this world," because she definitely feels that guilt in some sort of way. And this moment just made me appreciate the show in like a little bit of a different way, because I love the theme of what they try to maybe, I don't know if that's what they're trying to go for, but it made me think that like, like the innies and the outies, a lot of them are very different. I feel like Mark's is probably the most similar between his two innie and outies, but Helly and Helena are totally drastic, two very different people. I feel like Irving is very different with his innie and his outie, and but Bird is similar, I guess, too, as we'll find out. But it just makes me think that like anybody, if they had a different experience with a different upbringing, a different background, that they might be a totally different person. I think we all like to believe that if we're a good person, if we were rich, we'd still be a good person, right? It's what we always say, like, if we had a lot of money, we'd still be good or whatever, right? And I think most of us would. And it's also like, if we were born, like really poor, we'd still be a good person. Like we wouldn't steal, we wouldn't do anything bad. But I think that, like, I don't know if this is what the show's going for. It's made me think that, like, like anybody could have a different sort of personality if we had different backgrounds in a way. But after this, we get to see the scene where Mark tells his sister pretty much everything that's going on, that he is the innie. And the sister is very, she's not shocked or she's not like scared. She's very accepting of it. She tells him why Mark took the severed job. He explains the wife, Gemma dying, and just sort of like walks him through it of like why he took this job. Like he was a teacher. We see that Mark's innie seemed very proud that he used to be a teacher of history. I thought that was a nice moment. But then after this, we get to see Harmony. She's driving. She calls up Milchek and tells him that the innies are in the outside world. Dylan's probably in the control room. This has been some sort of big plan this whole time. And that's when Milchek like hangs up and just books it to the control room. And I love this moment so much of seeing Milchek run to the control room. It was intense, but it was a sense of like real intensity. Like there's so many finales and shows where it's like they'll have intense moments that they feel sort of fake or like not warranted, but like this moment right here, like Milchek running to the control room to stop Dylan, from doing all this. I thought it was so good. And then at the same moment, we see Mark tell his sister that Miss Cabal is his boss. Like she's a boss of Lumen. And she's like, "I just trusted this lady with my kid." And so she leaves to go and find her because she has her kid, right? And I just thought like it was a sense of real intensity that was like genuine. and honestly had me hooked. But after this, we see Harmony pull up to Lumen. She runs out of the car so fast she doesn't even turn her car off or put it into park. So the car starts rolling. In the audience's head, we still think that she has the baby in the back, right? So then I was like, oh my god, like they're not going to kill the baby or anything. I don't think they would do that. But I think, for people that have seen a lot of shows, like we know that, the baby was probably somewhere else. But then while this is happening, we all see Irving, like I said, who's trying to find Bert. He finds Bert. Turns out Bert is living with another man. This is why I said that, Bert's innie and outie aren't too different. Like he's gay in both the outside world and his innie self, right? Where I feel like Irving might be different. That's just a theory, I'm not entirely sure about that. But it was like upsetting to see Irving see Bert with like another man. Because Irving probably loves him. He wants to be with him. That's what he wanted to do. Like that was his whole goal. Like Helena had her own goal. Mark has his own goal. Like Irving's was to get to Bert, and ends up just not going the way he thought it would. But now towards the end, we see Mark find the baby. Like the baby was left in another room. She's not with Mrs. Cabal. And then he looks at photos, and we see that he's about to go pick up a photo that will reveal that Miss Casey is his wife. And while this is going on, we see Harmony talk to Helly before she's about to go and give her speech. I thought this was a cool moment. I thought, why didn't Harmony like just scream out to everyone like she's an innie, but I guess it wouldn't have mattered because Helly reveals that she's an innie anyway, right? But she tells everyone that she's an innie and that everything that they told you was a lie, like we're miserable, like we're being tortured pretty much, like we're always in pain. And I wonder if like this is gonna matter to like the Egans. I feel like the head Egan, her father, already knew this, and because he even says like how could that disgusting innie try and kill you, so he already knows. But I wonder if everyone else at the gala already knows this information, because if they do, then it's not as big of a deal as it's made out to be, like I'd be funny if like everyone at the gala just started like laughing, or like they already knew so they didn't care, like it was nothing new information, like they already knew that they were being tortured. Or it could be the opposite way, and this could be a much bigger deal where it's like now they know that they're being tortured, so now maybe they do want to outlaw Severance, they're not getting on board, maybe they won't put their money into it. I don't know, it could go either way. And then it ends with the awesome moment of Mark seeing the picture of Gemma, who's Miss Casey, and he realizes Miss Casey's his wife, and he's grabbing the photo and he runs to his sister and he says, she's alive, she's alive, she's alive. And then the episode just ends. And I think that they will know what he means, because he's holding the photo and it's showing Gemma, it's showing Miss Casey, so they'll know what he means. But I wonder if Mark's outie will like believe it. But I really thought that was such a fantastic conclusion to this episode. So my rating for this episode is a 4.6 out of 5. I do think it was pretty near perfect. I actually don't know like what else I'd even want more from this finale. Like I really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. So many revealing things, like just from the get-go with having Helly being an Egan, and then from there, like I said, like that palpitating tension throughout the whole episode, like it just didn't stop. And then it was like high tension, and then it became very intense at the end, with Harmony figuring it out, going to Milchek running to Dylan. Dylan wanted to see his kids too, him learning that he has other kids as well, and then just all the reveals of Helly screaming to everyone that we're being tortured, like everything's fake. Mark finding the picture, Irving with Bert. That's probably the parts of the episode that I was probably least intrigued with. I feel like it didn't feel like as high stakes as everything else. But I really, really, really did enjoy this episode. Pretty perfect conclusion, I think, to the whole series. So now my thoughts on the season 1 overall are pretty like confusing for me, because I keep track of my thoughts throughout every single episode. And I remember the first 2 episodes, I wasn't fully on board with it. I thought the first 2 were like okay, but I didn't know like where anything was going. If you guys remember the first 2, remember it was just like like they're in a workplace, and like they're severed, and we were like okay, like I don't know. For me, I was like okay, but like I didn't really know where everything was gonna lead to. But once episode 3, once we sort of got a bigger picture of a lot of things, that's when I thought like okay, that was a great episode. And from then on out, it really didn't have a bad episode for that. It was only the first 2 that were sort of like not fully on board with it yet, but after that I was fully on board with it. And then even with these last 3 to 4 episodes, I thought they were all like really, really great. I mean, obviously with having conclusion with the score of like 4.6 out of 5 for me, like that leaves like a great taste in my mouth. Like I am so hyped for season 2 now. It's gonna be hard to like wait that long with the finale like this. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Let me know down below what you guys think of season 1. Did you guys giving it like a 10 out of 10, like a 9 out of 10? I'm actually really interested to know where season 1 lies for you in terms of like your own personal ratings, like what you guys think. But for me, like the season overall rating for me, I'm probably gonna give like a 4.2 out of 5. It's more like an 8 out of 10 for me, but only because I think like for episodes 1 and 2 I gave like a 3. Episode 5 I gave like a 3.5. Episode 6 like a 3.7. Those are all good ratings, but they weren't like great. But all the other episodes got great ratings, 3.9s, 4.2s, like 4.6, definitely gonna bump it up. And I think just this season overall, like we've seen movies or shows that deal with like mind control, like dealing with people's minds, or but I think nothing like this, like the whole idea of like severance and sort of trying to forget your trauma in like a very toxic, unhealthy way, but then also revealing like, this bigger plan with the Egans, like this mystical thing with it. I thought it really is unique, and it really is interesting. And I did add that to my season 1 overall rating, like the uniqueness of it. Even like the writing, I thought the characters were great. The acting was great as well too. I'm happy with my rating. I do feel like I am being, I'm giving it like a proper rating, a fair chance. But I honestly do want to give like a higher rating too. I really thought I might give like a 9 out of 10 or something, because I do think it sort of deserves. Like if you think that's what this show deserves, I totally understand that. But enough about the ratings. Let's take a look at season 2, what might be in store. I think there's like a lot of loose ends that they didn't really acknowledge in this episode. Probably pertaining to Petey and the girl that killed the bodyguard. That I forgot her name. But yeah, I wish we learned a little bit more about like that whole rebellion, like how many of them are a part of Petey, and like what's been going on, like how much do people know. A little bit more about Petey's daughter as well. There's one moment where Petey was talking to Mark in the basement, says something about like his daughter being, I think, pretty important in some way. And we met her, but I didn't think we got to see like how important she really is, or like why. So like that stuff with Petey and the rebellion, I do want to learn more about that. I'm also excited to see the stakes being raised in season 2. As we know, the Egan, when Helena's father talks to her in the bathroom, and he says that everyone should be severed. Like that plan he's going to try and move forward with that plan. So I'm excited to see, either Mark and, Irving and them try to stop him, or the rebellion's trying to stop him. Like it could be like this higher stakes feel in season 2. I'm excited to see that. And I'm actually really wondering like what's going to happen to these innies now, because Milchek knows about what happened, right? And he just stopped Dylan. So Dylan, like, aren't they going to get in trouble? Or like I wonder what would happen if Mark is going to believe her and either, maybe work with his innie somehow, and they communicate by some sort of way, like writing on paper and trying to figure out more clues, as Mark's innie self sort of finds more stuff out about Lumen from the inside, and Mark works with the rebellion on the outside, and sort of work together. Or it's a thing to where he doesn't believe the sister at all for some reason, and and just keeps going to work, and they're not together, in some sort of way. I think the other one is better though. But now like Harmony's fired, so she can't really do anything about Helly and Helena and about what happened. So I wonder like what her role is going to be. Like, does she get rehired? Does she like sort of become good maybe some way? But I wonder like what are the repercussions for this for their innie selves? Like what's going to happen to them? It's pretty interesting. Like I'm wondering like what's going to happen there. And then with Helly's outie, like when she snaps out of it and she just told everyone like this whole truth, like how is she going to play it off? Is she gonna try and tell everyone that like it was a joke, or I feel like she could easily just say that like, haha guys, it was just a joke, because I could see it happening. But then Irving, like, I don't know, it's really interesting. I'm really intrigued by it. But that's kind of it though. I have no more theories really. We still really didn't get any other clues into like what exactly the Severance job is and what Lumen's trying to do, besides having people severed. But like what are with the numbers? We didn't get nothing with the numbers, so I wanted that as well. Let me know down below what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching along with me. I hope you return for season 2. This is a great experience. Just coming up with theories for the show, reading all the comments, sort of learning more about the show as we go along. I really did enjoy it. I really thought it was a really great first season overall. Comment down below what you guys think of this episode, any theories moving forward, and that's it. So please make sure to subscribe for next season, and also join along with me. I'm probably going to try and find another show, and I'm going to try and do a little bit more. This month has just been really hard and hectic with other things in school But I'm going to try and, work harder on the channel, try to put out videos more every day because I do love doing it and I do love making these videos. So thank you guys for watching, and that's pretty much it. So I'll see you on the next video. Have a great rest of the day.